Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of this episode, extended edition of your favorite St. Louis sportscast, the Lounatics. I'm your host, Tyler Edwards, along with this guy who just made fun of my face, and my co-host and producer, John Love.
I'm no longer your friend because I made fun of your face, is what I'm hearing.
You're still my friend. But I would like to point out that right before starting to record this, as I made the comment about something happened in our indoor soccer league when I said shit happens, John goes, shit does happen. Look at your face. Albeit quoting a movie. Also not that he's incorrect. I mean, if you looked at my face, you would know.
Right.
But
if you're watching instead of listening, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. For those of you who are just listening, you're welcome for not having to see my face. As again, my grandpa once told me, I have a great face for radio, and I plan on taking advantage of that. So
that's why we started this podcast.
I did switch to water partway through the episode because it's getting late, and I have to get up early and work out in the morning because I'm trying to lose weight this year. I think you're still on water because you still sound like shit and you're sick.
Shit does happen. Look what happened to my voice.
The drink recap is going to short and sweet for this episode.
That's right. Yes, welcome everyone to Lounatics After Dark, City Edition.
God, these guys are so old.
Oh God, I know.
He's got a 5-year plan. What is it? Don't die.
I'm going to go watch Big Daddy this weekend now. Okay, anyway. So, this episode's all St. Louis City focused. Our last episode was all Blues and Cardinals, so we have a ton to talk about with City. So we broke it up into its own episode. 3 pieces of news, one of which we've already talked about, was that AZ did get called up to the full senior team, U.S. men's national team camp in January. Mm-hmm. Which was awesome. He only played he got into the game in the 88th minute, so he played 3 or 4 minutes when you add in extra time. Didn't really get to make an impact because he just didn't have enough time. The U.S. did lose to Slovenia 0-1, but he is Olympic eligible, so who knows? Maybe he will get to come in, considering that all the guys who started didn't really play that well.
Yeah, the bits that I've seen from that game, they needed a spark plug and somebody like AZ on that team. And if that's the team they're planning on rolling out to the Olympics, they're going to need somebody who isn't afraid to make some of those pushes, those runs, those changes.
Absolutely.
And maybe AZ will end up being that guy, yet to be seen, yet still to be determined.
Right. Further news for City. Lutz did make a loan move for the team. Our own Miguel Perez has been loaned to a USL Championship team, Birmingham Legion, not Birmingham City FC, which is who our good buddy Zach thought that Miggy was loaned to, which was quite an interesting conversation when I said, no, it's Birmingham, Alabama. But sorry. I do think that, I know, you should have been there. I do think that's a great move for him. I know you do, too.
I hope Zach's at soccer this week.
Oh, I'm sure he will be.
God, that'll be good.
But, you and I said right from the beginning when we started this that Miggy needs good minutes against quality opposition. He wasn't quite ready for MLS. I think he did decent against bottom half MLS midfielders. But once he started going up against the top level MLS midfielders, it was clear how far away he really is. And I also think he was way too good for Next Pro. I don't think it was helping him any. So I think a move to a USL team is going to be great for his development this year.
I agree. And I think it's something to remember is that when MLS Next Pro developed the Next Pro, they pulled the second squads out of the USL league.
Right.
So the Next Pro is its own league, which is really a step below. Where
it's a third tier league.
It's a third tier league.
In the pyramid.
So now you have your top being MLS, your next being the USL Championship, and the bottom being your next MLS Next Pro. This to me feels a lot like the Big Sam move last year, right? We didn't have a spot for Big Sam at the beginning of the year. We saw him as a borderline ready player.
Yeah.
And so we sent him to a USL team that we knew he would get good minutes for. He was going to get good experience, and in a place where we didn't have the minutes. I'm not saying that Mickey's going to come back and look like Big Sam. Physically, they're very different, right? I mean, Big Sam is
Big Sam's
a
big guy.
He's a big dude. But for Miggy, this is going to be great for him to further develop and really, truly get the minutes he needs to become the next player. Again, Miggy's young. He just turned 18 last year. He's not like Big Sam. He's not a big, strong guy, as one Pete Alonso would say.
It's been a while since we've made that joke, too. We really fell out of the things that were keeping us going strong in the early episodes lately.
But Big Sam is a big, strong guy, and Miggy's not yet. But, getting those minutes, getting to where he needs to be, I think we have the right to recall if we need him. But I think what's going to be best for his development is if we can leave him down there as long as we can and let him get regular minutes every night, because as you and I have talked, I mean, our midfield midfield depth chart is thick. With multiple C's.
Yeah. 3 or 4 at least.
Especially in Leuven's legs.
Yeah. Do you see that picture of his calves from the scrimmage that they posted?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I mean, like his calves look as big as my thighs.
Yeah. Yeah. Except with no fat, all muscle.
I'm a close to 250-pound man. His calves
You're a big, strong guy.
My thighs. I'm not a big, strong guy.
Just a big guy?
I'm just kind of big and awkward at this stage in my life.
Right. Miggy has played in a preseason game for Birmingham, which we're going to talk about in another episode. We'll get more on that later. But he did look pretty good. I watched it. I'm excited for him, though. It's going to work out, I think. Alrighty. Another move that we made, though, was our own Niko Joachini was sold to Como 1907, a Serie B team, which I don't think they pronounce it Serie B. I think they pronounce it Serie B or some crap like that. They're Italian. I don't know. Don't speak Italian. Don't care.
Hey, man, we could have listeners on the hill, so play nice. Because their food is delicious.
If you're a listener on the hill, please correct me my pronunciation, and please send cannolis.
Also, feel free to comment that John's a dumbass, because we appreciate that too.
Yeah, but also, more importantly, please send cannolis.
They got some killer bakeries down there. Continue.
Yeah. So Como, first off, they do stream all of their games for free, which I think is awesome, at tv.comofootball.com. City Twitter at 7 a.m. yesterday morning was lit watching this Como game because Niko was on the bench for it before the game went fucking sideways. Doesn't matter. Niko didn't get in. The sale has been reported for $2 million, but could be up to $4 million in add-ons. I think that's an excellent sale for us, considering we got him for free. We can convert about half of that, 1.2 million total, 1.157 or something, to allocation money, which is going to help us grow the amount we can spend because it artificially increases the cap, as well as giving us more money to legitimately spend on players. So that's really good for us. As far as Como, they are in a promotion battle. When we made the transfer, they were second in their league, which was an automatic promotion spot. After they lost yesterday, they fell down to fourth, which is still a playoff spot for promotion. But yeah, in the fall, Niko could be playing in Serie A, which I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it's huge for him. Again, somebody who, and for Niko, I mean, he was somebody who was definitely looked at, as a potential U.S. national team piece, and was playing some good minutes for our U.S. men's national team. And I think for him, it's something he really wants to get back to. And I think it's important to him to get back to Europe and get to a point where he can do that again. I don't know with our current set of players on the U.S. men's national team if he'll be a part of that A squad, but potentially more of that part of that B squad would definitely be somebody for a place for him. But
Right.
so we've had multiple players we've moved on from this year in this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And guys that didn't look like much, or that other people really didn't want, other teams' cast-offs. Um, what, how do you assess that? So for those of you at home, we've got Niko Gioacchini, Jared Stroud, and Lucas Bartlett. We've either traded or sold all three of them. What are your thoughts there, as far as who we've signed and traded for, and kind of what that's led to for us?
Um, have you seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street? That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
Matthew
that's all you need
McConaughey.
to know. For those of you
Who?
who are listening, I just started pounding my chest like Matthew McConaughey in that scene that he totally apparently improvised, which is still hilarious.
Right. Well, apparently it's what he does to psych himself up for like going into scenes or whatever. Austin FC owning Matthew McConaughey. See, it's related. Um. Anyway, I feel like a little bit like Lutz is a non-sketchy version of Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and that he's taking these penny stocks and selling them for big money, things that he's acquiring cheaply. And I know that's not exactly what happened in the movie. It doesn't matter. But so all of these guys we got essentially on free transfers. We spent basically nothing to get them. Niko was the only one who was making really significant money of the three of them. And yet we've turned them into players that should be very, very huge helps to us. I mean, Duer and Totland should be starters this year for us. And Durkin, who maybe isn't going to be a starter over Blom, is probably going to get a lot of minutes. He was like, I think, 5th or 6th on DC last year in minutes. I have a feeling we're going to be using him a lot. And Blom, really struggled with fitness a lot last year. He struggled in the heat. He struggled when it was cold. He struggled when we had to travel a lot. Like, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Durkin to play. So I think those are very, very good moves. Lutz apparently also already was looking at strikers. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this window, but it might. But yeah, Lutz, he seems like a guy who's got a plan and a backup plan, and he already is. He's 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone else in this league for sure.
I agree. So this is kind of my thought here, and is that he's taking people. He's doing the Tampa Bay Rays thing, right? They're fine. He's finding guys. He's signing players. They're performing super well, and they're signing their big contract. But we're not having to spend that money, and we've already got somebody lined up to replace them.
Buying low and selling high.
Oh yeah, no, I get that's what you said.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying the phrase. That's what he's doing.
Oh yeah, but then he's also not afraid to go get guys that maybe are making a little more money, right? Like he's still willing to supplement within that. And I think, Durkin is a guy. I know you called out Blom, right, a little bit there with the minutes and the issues with fitness. A lot of that I think can play into his injury early in the season, and then having to rush him back because we didn't have a solid backup for him.
Yeah.
And because Durkin is used to playing in MLS, he's used to the travel, he's used to all of those things. In combination with the fact that now Blom's had a year in the league to knows more what to expect and better train and prepare, I think the combination of those two is going to be, make us a force to be reckoned with at the back end of our midfield.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, on paper, before we've played, I think this team has been improved since the end of last season. Like, I mean, there are a lot of goals that we're losing from Niko, but I think we have guys who can step up.
We lost 10 goals from Niko? Was it 5 or 6 from Stroud?
5 from Stroud. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a lot of goals to replace, but you also have to think about the minutes they played and the positions they played. And again, if some of these other guys are ready to step in, and if we have Big Sam up for a whole season, Big Sam will likely have a few more goals than he did last year.
Yeah.
If Klaus is healthy and doesn't miss over half the season
Right.
with the quad injury again, like you're going to look at more goals and more dominance from him. If
If
you're
Alm
able
is
to
healthy,
push,
same thing with Stroud.
and yeah, Alm is a better version of Stroud. I mean,
Yes,
like
that's it.
if we're being
Exactly.
on,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
He's
Alm
a
is a
better version of Stroud.
yeah. And then if you're able to now having people like Durkin sitting back where you don't, if Blom is tired or not playing as well and we have to sub him out, you don't have to drop Leuven back as far or drop Indy back as far to cover that position. Those two should be better offensively as well because it's going to free up a lot of space and minutes
Yeah.
for them to play further up.
Yeah. I am really excited about the prospect of seeing Durkin and Blum play next to each other in a double pivot. I don't know if we'll get to see it that much, but I am really interested in that. Let me ask you this. Okay. Do you think that we will get a new striker before the primary window in MLS ends, which is like April 1st is when the primary window officially ends?
I think if we don't, so the one we've been linked to is Two-Shirt. I can't remember however you say his name.
Yeah, I think it's Tukert, but it's fine.
That's who we've been linked to. I think that's Lutz's pick, right?
Yep.
That's who he wants. I think if he doesn't get him, he's not going to rush to sign somebody he otherwise. So I think if we get one, it's him, and if we don't, if we don't get him, it won't be during this primary window.
Yeah, I do think that I think it will be him, but I think it's in July
When he's free.
When he's free, yeah, right, exactly. He's out of contract. Lutz did make an offer to Hanover, but Hanover was asking essentially double what our offer was, which I can just imagine Lutz sitting there and laughing in their face when they countered with that. So yeah, I think we've got some good depth at striker. I made a list earlier today of guys who can play striker if everyone's healthy. And, it's Klaus, it's Sam, Glover, Celio, Thorson, Alm. And in theory, we could also potentially sign McSorley to a first-team contract. So that's 7 guys right there. And I do think McSorley might be being considered for a first-team contract. I think he's doing really well in camp. And I'll talk more about why I think that later. But yeah, and I don't know if Glover is ready for serious MLS minutes. He played a lot at the academy level still last year and a little bit at City too, and only got in for us the one time. But it could be a chance for him to make a big step forward in his opportunity.
There's going to be, as long as we can get through this first round, and at least of the Champions Cup, if we get through that first round, that's a bunch of extra games early in the season for us to really figure out what we have in a lot of these players. And I think that's going to be huge for players like Glover to kind of stake their claim to some more consistent minutes moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I do think Glover's probably going to play in like every Open Cup game, no matter what. But yeah, if we're going deep in Champions Cup, like we're going to need rotation. I think if we go to the second round of the Champions Cup, we're going to have like 8 games in the first 4 weeks, which is, kind of amazing considering we're like right now, like starved for action and to get to watch any games because they're not airing anything preseason. But yeah, there's going to be opportunity for sure. We do have a couple roster spots open especially with Niko and Mickey both leaving. So I think Duer is still waiting on his visa. So he hasn't arrived in camp yet. Jose Kojima, who was our first round draft pick from the Super Draft, he's also waiting on a visa. Don't know if Kojima is going to get a first team contract. Don't know if McSorley is either. He was our 3rd round draft pick. We've got
for those
space,
who are curious, the visa process. So Kojima was on a student visa with Wake Forest. So now he has to get a new visa because his status has changed. And that's why that's going on. So for those of you who are curious, like, well, he was already here in the U.S. Well, he was on a essentially a college visa, and so he's got to get a new visa that which appropriately indicates things, which should be a faster process because he already had one, you would think.
Right. Which he's been here for 10 years too, so he could be pretty close to also being able to get a green card, which is the other thing that's an issue, is that I believe we are out of international slots. And so that's if no one has gotten green cards yet. The only one who I think we've heard for sure was because the MLS's rule is you just have to go to the first hearing. You don't actually have to have the green card. Well, the only person who we know who actually had a green card hearing scheduled was Selmir Pedro, who missed it because we loaned him to the Czech League. And he was the first person brought in. So I don't know if any of the other guys have had theirs yet, but if his just got scheduled in November, I don't find it likely that any of the other guys have had theirs quite yet.
It's just a matter of time. I think it'll be interesting to see how the visa situation goes with Dewar. I think it's going to be important for him to get in here and get some minutes with our first team if he's going to be playing in a few weeks. He should ideally be in mid-season form coming from over there, so it's less of a being in game shape as much as being ready for the system, although playing on the defense it's a little bit different as far as figuring out the press and things. There are some pieces to it, but it's less complicated, I feel like, to learn the press on the if you as a backline defender than it is as a midfielder or a striker.
Right. No, I would agree with that. And it's also the one thing that does concern me, though, about the fitness is he's obviously not playing now in Denmark, right? And the longer this goes on, our first game isn't for another, 3 weeks, which also our first game is in 3 weeks. Is that going to be enough time for him to be able to start in that game against Houston? I don't know. But I really hope that when we see post this week, that we're going to see that he's there in practice with them. Because, the sports teams, this kind of thing happens. They tend to get these types of things expedited for sports teams. Because sports in the U.S. are big business and money talks here.
It talks everywhere.
That's true.
I guarantee if you were going to play for a professional team in England, they'd get your visa expedited to make sure you could play.
Right.
So preseason has started. We had our first preseason game, which was exciting to say the least. We shared some highlights, I believe, on the Facebook page.
We did.
Exciting things going on. We tied 2-2 against Nashville. My boy Celio was involved in one of those goals, which is really the most important thing here. Just to remind you all that he is still doing all the things.
Doing all the things.
I think if you watch the play, it's similar to what we said he brings last season that he brings to the table that we're missing, right? He takes on some defenders, makes something happen, and then puts the ball in a dangerous spot, and then Indy was there and ready to capitalize. But if you have guys that are taking players on one-on-one, are not afraid to do that, and can win those one-on-one, and then put the ball in a dangerous area, it's going to lead to good things. And he does that consistently, which is why I think he needs a lot more minutes this year, and I think he will get a lot more minutes this year because he's shown that he did that in big moments last season.
Right. Well, and I thought moving on from Stroud was a clear indicator that we were believing that Celio was ready to play a significant role for this team, but especially with Niko being gone too, that just, both of those things just, scream more minutes for Celio. He's one of the guys that I think is, and I don't remember exactly which stat it was, but there is some objective data that Celio was a top-level MLS player in certain metrics, specifically with regards to dribbling, basically one-on-one dribbling. So I'm very excited. You and I have talked a lot about how he brings something different to this team. I do believe, so Celio, so we basically changed
some fire and tenacity, by the way, too, that I think our team at times was lacking.
Right.
The kind of fire that Big Sam brought when he took out the Sporting
Oh,
Kansas player
that
on the
was
sideline.
nasty. Yeah. Oh God, that was nasty. But Celio came in the second half, so we did two lineups. And the first lineup, if you looked at it, you'd say like, okay, that's like your mostly starters lineup. And coach did say that, he's not really naming any position battles yet, but it's kind of like quote unquote, this is a baseline, is I think what he said. But you look at this first lineup, like looks a lot like a starting lineup. So this is the lineup that has Klaus, it has Berkey, it has AZ, it has Leuven, it has Blom, it has Parker. And then it also has Nurk, Hebert, and Watts, who I think we expect to be backups this year. But it also had Brendan McSorley, which I thought was very interesting. Now, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it's because you're thinking, like, okay, you want to put Sam and Klaus on different lines, different lineups right now, because you're thinking without Niko that you're going to be doing a 4-2-3-1 a lot. Supposedly, this lineup was more of a 4-4-2 diamond. But, of course, we don't know because they didn't, air it, so we don't know what they actually did. That's what's been reported. But then you look at the next lineup, and the next lineup I think is going to scream something completely different. So I'm going to read to you the first 5 or 6 guys in the lineup sheet, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So Lund, okay, sure. Then Totland, Vinsel, Yarrow, Nielsen, Markanic. So what does that say to you?
You're playing 3 centers with 2 wingbacks.
Absolutely. Something that we have been screaming for a long time. And I do think that, especially with Totland and Durer, who look to be better in one-on-one defending than our fullbacks were last year, that's going to allow them to push forward more as wingbacks and still be able to get back and be strong defensively. I think they also might even be better offensively than the other fullbacks we have. And I'm just saying that because they're playing at a higher level than our other fullbacks. I don't know for sure, but there are some highlights supporting that too, I guess. But yeah, so that was also very exciting to me to see.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to. I'm still trying to figure out in my mind who. Again, it's also formation dependent, but like who's your best starting 11? Because if you go with that 3 center back look, I mean, it screams to me Parker, Nielsen, Yarrow. It could also see somebody like a Durkin falling back into one of those 3 spots if we needed to. Then you've got Totland and Duer out on the sides with either Markanic or Nerwinski as your subs or as your backups kind of situation. And then from there, right, so there's 5. You've got 5 more players, so you're going to play probably it looks more like a 5-3-2-1. Or
right.
Yeah. Or a 5-3
or a 3-5-2. Yeah.
It depends on how you sketch it out, but
right.
Essentially you've got 1 striker up top, which is gonna be Klaus if you only have 1 striker, and then you're gonna have 4 guys kind of behind and playing underneath. And AZ plays a very good underneath role, underneath Big Sam, or not underneath Klaus and Big Sam. So even if Big Sam's your guy up top. Then you've got Leuven, you've got Celio, you've got so much depth for that midfield stretch. And so I just wonder how that would play. And I'm not saying it would be good or bad, but I also felt like Klaus was at his best when he had somebody to play off of. So part of me wonders how that impacts things. So like, does that mean that that's like a secondary lineup for us, depending on who we have available?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, I kind of raised my eyebrows when you said Durkin instead of Hebert being the 4th center back. I don't agree with that. Not because I don't think Durkin can't do it. I think the team believes very strongly in Hebert. I think Hebert, and I don't know if it's Hebert or Yarrow as the 3rd center back. It could be either of them. But Hebert did play with the starter group too.
But Nielsen didn't, and I think Nielsen should, right? So like, and so
Right.
that there's that give and take, right? Where you
Yeah.
need to get some of those starter guys in both groups. So,
Yeah.
but I agree. I think BC thinks very highly of Hebert, as does
Yeah.
Lutz.
If we go with a 3 center back look as one of our main formations, especially early on in the season, I think that you almost have to sign another center back, which would be Michael Vincel, who I think is probably MLS ready. At least like maybe not starting, but like subbing, rotation games, etc. If you sign him to a contract, you can play him in as many games as you want. If you leave him on an ex-pro contract, he can only appear in 2 games because of union rules. I do like the 3-4-2-1 as a top 11. So let me start at the top here, okay, and work my way back. Okay, because I don't really care who the third center back is. We know Berkey is going to be, in goal. So Klaus, AZ, Celio. Okay, I know you like that. Okay, then on your outside, you're gonna have Totland and Dewar, sure, and Leuven and Blom. And when I think about that, like I'm like, I really like that attack. Like I feel really good about that mix of players.
I think that gives us a ton of ability to attack forward. I think having Celio and Klaus there, they play well off each other. They have. I know Klaus gets vocal, and people are like, "Oh man, Klaus was yelling at Celio." I'm like, dude, Klaus yells at everybody.
Right, like watch Klaus. That's like 80% of what he's doing is yelling. He's bow-leggedly walking wherever he wants and yelling at everyone while he does it.
Yeah. And then AZ did a good job playing off Klaus as well, so I think that gives him a lot of attacking ability there. I think you also have good, solid subs for Celio and AZ and Big Sam. Those top 3 is very easily rotated. If you roll in with, think about Big Sam for Klaus, then with Celio and AZ, you've got Alm when he's healthy and Thoresen. And all of a sudden, I mean, like you've got, solid subs behind. Indy is going to fit in there as well. And Indy could also fit in a little bit further back because he does, even though he gets hate for it, plays solid defense for us as well.
Oh yeah, people are underrating his defense.
People like to nitpick things, but he does a great job defensively as well.
Yeah, no, I'm very high on Indy's defensive abilities.
I still like finding ways to get Indy into the lineup with Leuven, because even though he maybe only takes 3 to 5 free kicks a season with Leuven on the field, they have to respect his left foot.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wouldn't mind early in the year letting him take a few extra free kicks with the left foot just to make people have to respect it more.
Yeah, no, I'm all for that. And I also like being able to have both of them out there for the corner, depending on which side it's on and et cetera.
I also, and hear me, I think Celio and AZ at times, if you watch them, if they're both in the middle, don't always play as well off of each other because they both have a very dribble first mentality.
That's true. That's true.
And so
They're could two see, of the 3 guys who dribble first. Yeah.
I could very well see AZ, or not AZ, but Indy being the other one for those 2. And so if either Celio and Indy or AZ and Indy, those 2 underneath Klaus or Big Sam, depending on the day.
Well, and as far as a lot of our players go, Indy, like when I'm watching Indy play, I feel like he's looking at the whole field. You know what I mean? Like he seems like he's got a very like top down view of what's going on. So you and I are big fans of Indy. I don't think we talk about him for as big of a fans of him as we are. I don't think we talk about him enough on here.
Not on here. We talk about him nonstop off of here, but yeah.
Right. And I think he's probably one of the most tactically aware players on our team. So I'm a big fan of that. I like the thought of Indy just like ripping shots with his left foot from the right side of the field to like curve him in to like Klaus to like try to head him while he's running up.
That's where I feel like if the most versatility and the ability to switch sides at any given moment and flip things around, Celio and Indy give you that option underneath Klaus, where they can both attack better. I feel like AZ does a good job attacking right up the middle, but he is very right foot dominant.
Right.
Where Celio is definitely right foot dominant, Indy's definitely left foot dominant, but it's less apparent with those two.
Right. Well, you know what the combination I really like is Sam and AZ, because they're both so fast. And like if you only have one of them on the field, you just have to respect the one. But if they're both out there, you've got to respect both of them and keep an eye on them both, right? And that's really hard for a defensive line to do.
And those two play off each other really well.
Yeah.
So in my mind, and this is, the more I think about it, the more I like it, is you have one setup where if Klaus is your striker, you're rolling with underneath him. Typically it's going to be Celio and Indy. Mm-hmm. And when Big Sam's your striker, take advantage of the speed. And if Alm's healthy, you run Alm and AZ underneath him.
Yeah, and that's if you do the same formation. You may mix it up too.
You could mix it up, but if you were to do the same formation,
right?
Because those three and the speed coming at you off those three is just, it would be hard to defend.
Yeah. Because Alm is deceptively fast too. Like he does not look like a guy who's as fast as Sam and AZ, but I don't think he's that much slower than them.
And he runs like non-stop. He just did chest day and he can't put his arms down. But God, it's still so like he doesn't look like he's moving fast, but he is the whole time. You just synchronized coughed.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a new reel for sure, right there. That's amazing. I think Klaus is going to start against Houston. I know, hot take. I do think Sam probably starts the first league game against RSL. Mm-hmm. And I think we probably go one striker for each of them. We could maybe do two striker if Thor is looking good. I think Thor and Sam are developing good chemistry. Thor assisted Sam for his goal in the preseason game.
And those two could be a real interesting 1-2 punch. Or even if you did a 4-4-1-1 and let, kind of those two pivot off of each other, that could be real good, especially if they've got the chemistry there.
Well, think about this too, right? So what's the one thing that we said that Thor likes to do?
Come in down the left, cut into the middle and rip a shot.
Okay. And one of the things that we consistently said that Sam is great at is running into the left wing space if you can get a through ball. Mm-hmm. So what you can do is you can put a through ball in for Sam to run on, create a bunch of space with his speed, have Thor come in behind, and he can pass it back, and Thor can rip a shot when he's got actually a good amount of time and space to do it.
Oh, yeah. No, I had that.
We just solved it. We just solved the whole tactic.
But
there we go. Look at us.
In a perfect world, that's what I would love to see. I think it'll be. I think once we see the lineup for this first Champions Cup game, we're going to know pretty much who's going to start, at least have a good feeling of who we know is going to start for that first RSL game. But until then, it's all speculation, right? Like it's a guessing game. And I would love to be in Carnell's and Lutz's heads just to know what their thoughts are on this stuff, because both of them are the decisions they make. While we may question some of the decisions that BC makes in game or whatever, but like, he's got so much going on. So I have, and I don't see it on here as a 10-second yes or no on your end. So, and I think this is where your next space is going anywhere. But St. Louis City SC on paper looks like they've improved the team this year, right? They look like they'd be a better team than they were going into last season. They also have a little bit of swagger as well as a chip on their shoulder from their early exit. Other teams around the league in the West have not necessarily gotten better outside of like the Colorado Rapids and Stan Kroenke and go screw yourself. So I know we've talked about, okay, well, we shouldn't expect to win the West, whatever else. 10-second yes or no. Why not us?
Why not us? So you want me to like say reasons why this team won't do well?
Give me a reason why we shouldn't win the West.
Okay. Well, I'm not a fan of this because then you could just like clip it and like play it in my face every time something, when we go well and be like, John's a hater. He hates the Blues and he hates City. No. Okay. So lots of reasons why we could be worse. Number one, LAFC is not playing in Champions Cup this year, so they can focus solely on league play. Okay. They're really good. Seattle just signed, God, what's his name? I can't even think of his name. Hold up.
You're killing it here with your analysis.
No, here it is. Pedro de la Vega. So, like, I think Seattle might actually be better this year than they were last year. Dallas just signed, what's his name? Peter Musa from Benfica, who's a striker and is very good. Dallas is going to be better. That's, 3 playoff teams that are scary. So just right there, you have 3 teams that we're competing against that are going to be a lot better. You have the fact that we scored a lot of goals against, our quote unquote expected goals that should have been a lot less. You have the fact that Berkey saved a lot of goals that he, most goalkeepers are not saving. And yeah, he's better than most, so he should be saving more. But if he's not at the top of his game every game like he was last year, we could struggle. We generally stayed healthier than a lot of our peers, with the exception of Klaus. So, and I guess Nielsen. But like we didn't really lose Leuven for any amount of time. And we had really good depth last year. So, I mean, if we have injuries to a few key players, we could struggle. Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of reasons right there.
Well, hot damn, John. I asked for one reason why we might do worse. And then you were like, here, let me just jot it all down on all of these things. After you were like, you're going to clip this. And now I am going to clip this and make sure I play all of this. But I was like, hey, give me one reason why you think they might do worse. And you just listed off like 12. So, I set you up for some, but then, I mean, you did the rest of making yourself look like a hater on your own.
You gave me a soft pitch throw and I hit a home run with it. Okay. Can't hate me for that.
I mean, you hit something with it. We'll let the fans decide as I start posting the reels on another one of John's doubts for the season. No.
Right. No, here's the thing for the listeners, okay? So, as I said earlier, on paper, this team does look better than it did last year, although losing Niko does hurt quite a bit, and I do want someone of similar skill to step up, and maybe that's Thor, maybe it's not. But with all the reasons that I just said, it is possible and certainly plausible that this year this team is better, but does worse in the standings. And I think that's important for context. I think that's important to keep in mind to frame how we approach this season. Because last season was magical and it was awesome. And we, got first in the West and no one had ever done that as an expansion team. But yeah, so this year it's definitely a realistic probability that we will play better and that we are a better team and that we don't do as well.
No, I agree with that statement. But I'm still going to clip this and post all of your terrible takes. And you're going to be like, yeah, well, I was sick and you can hear it in my voice and I can already hear your excuses rolling. as people are.
I was sick. I was in a bad mood, so I was just shitting on everything.
Yeah, the same thing that happened when you thought you didn't want to be positive on our Blues at the beginning of the season, and now we finally look like we might be doing okay, and we'll see. That we still got time here, so we've got upcoming games here in the preseason. Who do we play next? Do you remember?
Let's see. So we're back in St. Louis for this week, and at the end of the week we fly out to LA. We have friendlies against LAFC and LA Galaxy and New York Red Bull. I think the last two are part of a Coachella tournament. Okay. I think LAFC is just a friendly. So we have 3 games left.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see, keep track of the lineups and who's used and whatnot. I think it'll also be, and I need to do I kind of want to peek at things, what's going on over in the Colorado Rapids universe, because they did spend some money, bring in some players like Mihailovic, who is a U.S. national team player and a new goalie, and trying to replicate some of the things that I think they saw St. Louis City do to kind of how they built their roster and what players they kept important. Most importantly on that, though, is that Stan Kroenke is realizing that his people are probably not as smart as the people in St. Louis, which we all knew, because Stan Kroenke isn't as smart as the people in St. Louis. So with that, everyone, it's been a long 2-part episode, and we hope that everyone has enjoyed it. But we hate you, Stan Kroenke, and good night, everyone.